When he turned his back from shoulder to shoulder, it looked like as wide as the tailgate of a truck.
And just darkness, literal darkness, just came like all over, just all over me except where I was standing.
This thing let out the most blood-curdling, mind-blowing, spine-tingling scream that you've ever heard in your life, and it cut through me like a knife.
And I knew that they were going to take me. I just knew it. And then the next thing I can remember is being levitated.
Well, when I look in there, I see two big eyes staring back at me.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us, and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night.
Hey there, believers. I hope you enjoy these commercials as much as we enjoy doing them. In all seriousness, please go check out braxtonwv.org. It's a great site. Andrew has done wonders. He's a curator of the Flatwoods Monster Museum there, and he has done a great job of really plugging the tourism in the cryptid community. Go check it out. That's all I can say. Go check it out. It's awesome. It's a great place to visit. It's a great place to shop, to camp. It's got everything for you. So go check it out, braxtonwv.org. This episode is going to be fun. I'm going to butcher this name. Let's see. Shetan Noir. Shetan Noir. Shetan Noir. I'm not sure. I'll let her do her own introductions. She has a bio that will blow your mind, and I hope to get into every bit of this with her. Thanks to Les Odell for putting her in touch with me. I was in a slump, as you guys probably know by now. I was looking for a lot of help, and Les really delivered. I put it out on social media that I'm looking, to pick some people up. And since then, tons of people have messaged me, and they said, "Hey, Les told me that I need to get in contact with you." So thanks again, Les. I hope all is going well, buddy. Well, I won't sit here and babble too much. Got some big changes going on. Hopefully everything goes good for the show. I'll get into all that later. Right now, let's go ahead and bring on Shetan Noir. I hope at least one of those pronunciations are right.
Hello, everyone. I am Shetan Noir. I wear many hats and have many titles, but I am a cryptozoologist. I am a paranormal investigator. I am a writer, an author, journalist, podcaster, many things, a maker. I do lots of creating with crafts, but you guys are probably tuning in to hear what I have to say about cryptozoology and stuff like that. So my background, so I have been researching and investigating the paranormal and cryptozoology for the past 25 years. I am the managing writer of Squatch GQ Publications, and we have several different titles: Squatch GQ, Squatch Digest. Those are cryptid, our magazines on Bigfoot and lake monsters and Mothman and Dogman and stuff like that. Then we have G Hunter magazine, which is the paranormal, haunted locations, ghost hunting. We have Watchers magazine, which is UFOs, extraterrestrials, stuff of that nature. We have dinosauria and prehistoric creatures, kind of obvious on that one, and also one of my favorites because I love my dinosaurs. And also one that will be coming out in the next year of weird travels, where I go to different locations and give people my honest opinion about, is it safe to go to? Are the claims that are made about the location legitimate? Or are you just better Xing it off your bucket list now and planning something else? So those are the magazines that I write for. I am also the author of Lake Monsters and Odd Creatures of the Great Lakes, which is a book on lake monsters. Mothman and Other Flying Cryptids of the Midwest. I do have a children's book out called The Marvelous Misadventures of Tegan Gray, which is my miniature pincher's little book where she goes around our property looking for Bigfoot and trying to use her cryptozoology skills to get her closer to Bigfoot and hopefully catch him. I am the host of the podcast Into the Liminal Abyss Paranormal Podcast. I also teach 2 courses at 2 local community colleges, one here in Michigan, one in Ohio, Kellogg Community College at the Battle Creek and Hastings campuses here in Michigan, and Owens Community College at Perrysburg. The 2 courses that I teach are the paranormal history of the Great Lakes and also cryptozoology of North America. I am also the Michigan lead investigator for the North American Dogman Project. If you just heard a squeak in the background, it's just me taking a toy away from my dog man, our German Shepherd. He found his toy, so he wants to squeak it. Quite a long and storied background with research and writing. I also do plenty of field investigations. I go hiking quite often in the warmer months with my miniature pincher and my smaller dogs. So we are always out on the trail. We are always looking for either Bigfoot, Dogman, lake monsters, Mothman. So we're always out there researching.
Wow. When do you sleep? Do you have
a lot of people ask me that, and I try to I'm like, oh, I do sleep. Because invariably I could say, well, I do sleep from 6 a.m. to noon. But then people start messaging me during that time. So it never benefits me to tell people what my hours of sleeping are. Yeah. It's kind of like, what hours are you open? And it's like, they still don't listen.
Very, very busy. I love it though. You are all over the map on this stuff. So this will be a good episode. Let me ask you first.
Yeah, I was actually hoping December would be my down month.
You think so? Well, let me ask you.
I'm kind of hopeful. I'm kind of hopeful from Thanksgiving to New Year's. I can have my hibernation time and actually sleep. But I know I have plenty of projects to work on, so those will keep me busy.
Absolutely. So, what got you started in the whole line of crypto and paranormal?
So, I only caught the last bit of that. What was the first bit?
What got you into what got you started on?
So what got me into it? So, I was always interested in strange topics, or what we would now call today high strangeness. But back when I was 16, that all fell under the umbrella term New Age, topics. So, and it was all lumped together: paranormal, Atlantis, UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. It all fell into this category of New Age. Now, in this time and era, it all has its own category, paranormal, it breaks down into different categories. High strangeness, kind of still an umbrella term. Cryptozoology covers everything from Bigfoot to Loch Ness Monster to Mothman. UFOs covers everything from crop circles to UFOs to alien activity to, strange lights in the sky. And, now we have the term, there's UFOs, but there's also USOs, which is, for ones that are under the water. So
Right.
a lot of different, and everybody is still adding to the categories. So it's always been very interesting to me. So my interest with both the paranormal and cryptozoology started when I was around 10 years of age. So with the paranormal, it started because the early morning hours of when my grandmother passed away, she actually came to me while I was sleeping and told me that she was already gone. And the next morning when we all got up, my parents said, "Hey, we're going to go down to your grandma's house in Indiana real quick." And I said, "Oh yeah, she passed away." And they said, "How did you know that?" And I said, "Well, she came to me while I was sleeping. It was like 3:30 in the morning. And that's when, she told me she had already passed and not to be upset, that it was her time to go." So my parents were able to verify with my dad's brothers who were at the hospital at the time that yes, indeed, she passed right around in that time period. And they, they didn't know how I knew that. And I just, grandma told me that, she came to me while I was sleeping and told me that she had already passed. And so that started my interest into the paranormal. Now for cryptozoology, my family, like a lot of other families, our American vacation during the summertime and pretty much every weekend was to go camping. So this particular summer, my parents really liked this campground called Crystal Lake. Now, the name did it justice because the water in the lake was crystal clear. But the thing that was disconcerting to me as a 9-year-old child was the fact that they had an alligator in a dog kennel up on the land. And I'm thinking, okay, if they have an alligator in the kennel, then where did they get it from? They obviously got it from this lake. So, and it was like a 6-foot, long crocodile or alligator. So that right there was like, okay, well, obviously I don't want to go out in the rowboat fishing because if there's alligators out there, they're going to eat us. And my parents could never quite understand, why I didn't want to go fishing, see this alligator coming up and going to kill us. And so that was traumatizing in and of itself. But one of the weekends that we were there, they thought that the perfect family movie night, movies to show was the Patterson-Gimlin film and The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Nice.
Now, as a 9-year-old child, you watch these movies and you're like, okay, so not only is there alligators in the lake, but now these big monkey things are in the woods and they're going to grab us. And they're going to, probably, steal us and take us off into the woods and who knows what. So I remember leaving the movie theater and having to use the restroom. So I went into the local bathroom, and that was it. I could not leave the women's bathroom because I was so terrified that these Bigfoot or camper or anything again. So,
Oh, I lost you. Hold on just one second.
I was in there for maybe 15 minutes, and these two nice elderly, I was in the restroom for maybe 15 minutes, and two elderly women came in. They were very nice. I explained to them my dilemma, so they helped guide me back to my family's camper. And of course, my family wasn't there; they were still at the movies watching it. So I literally just stayed in the camper with the door locked until my family got back. So this, started my interest with the paranormal and cryptozoology. Now, I have to say that until as of late, I really haven't been too keen on UFO stuff. Just because I am so fascinated with the paranormal and cryptozoology, but because I am a writer and that is some of the subjects that I research, I try to broaden my horizons and, become more curious about it as I can.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, all this latest and greatest UFO, UAP flap, that's blown my mind. I've been waiting for disclosure since I was a little boy,
Yeah.
like a preteen. So it made me happy, but now I'm starting to question, what I just assumed were something from another planet. What is it, and who are they, and what do they want? And I got more
Exactly.
questions. Yeah.
And that's, I can understand the, information being held back, because as early as the 1970s, something of that nature would have sent people in a panic.
Yeah.
But now it's so talked about, people are so, curious about this, that I do believe that, this is the time, opening of the files and just reveal to the human populations what we know about this, so that when and if there is a situation where we have unfriendlies to deal with, people are not panicked. They can, there is a plan in motion of how to deal with these things. And, because you look at pop culture, you look at, like, comics, Superman, Alien, Martian Manhunter, Alien, Hawkman, Alien, some of the Green Lanterns of our lives. We have been, with some of them being very humanoid looking and more towards us, but people also have to, be prepared for things that don't look like us. So, so that when we see a octopus squid type creature walking on two legs coming towards us, we're not freaking out, same thing with the grays and the greens. So I think, that it's within our lifetimes that this is going to be a very open subject and discussed, as openly as mathematics, as astrology, as chemistry. People are it's responsible now that, we can handle the information and we can absorb it and understand it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think we'll see it all in our lifetime. I think that, the gig's up. They're going to have to come on out with it eventually. But they've slow rolled it, like you said, with movies. Just desensitized us to it little by little.
Yeah.
So I think it's our generation that gets to witness it all. I think it's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned you are the lead investigator.
And I can't be the only one who thinks, we should be a little bit more advanced than what we are right now.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be major steps in, medicine and travel, especially. I think those two things are still pretty rudimentary. We got lots of room for progress in. And I'm sorry, and if anybody's listening, there's a little bit of a lag going on, and there is a little bit of a pause and delay, and I'm trying my best to work through it. And I apologize to you too, Shetan, because
it's okay. We'll work with it.
Yeah, we'll just keep rolling, because it's going to be a good episode no matter what. Even if they have to listen to a little bit of high speed, low speed kind of conversation, it's going to work out. You mentioned a minute ago, and I might be jumping the gun here, but you are the lead investigator in the Michigan Dogman group.
So there is a nationwide organization, the North American Dogman Project. I happen to be the lead investigator. So of activity, those areas on the western side of Michigan. So we do get quite a few reports, and probably not as many as the Beast of Bray Road, but significant enough that Linda Godfrey, who I think is one of the first and foremost researchers of the Dogman phenomenon, she has come here to Michigan to investigate those reports. So very interesting, subject matter, and I do my fair share of investigations of that cryptid too.
Awesome. Have you had any personal experiences or seen any evidence in your investigations? And we're froze up again. Let's see. Shetan, if you can hear me, it said that your bandwidth is low. I don't know.
So, okay, because I haven't moved. I'm sitting in the same location.
I know. I want this video portion to work out, but I might take my video off to see if that'll help.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, let's just see if that helped at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So have you had any personal experiences or seen any evidence of Dogman?
So with Dogman, personally, no, I have not had any eyewitness sightings of him. I'm pretty sure when I Bigfoot and not a dog touching them, I'm looking for key indicators of, is this a cryptid or is this a natural occurring creature? And for Dogman, we are looking at foot tracks that are bigger than 5 by 6.
Okay.
So 5 inches across, 6 inches long. Because even a Mastiff or a Great Dane or a large Labrador Retriever, if they are stepping or walking in soft soil like muds, snow, sand, if you're looking at a 150-pound dog, the force that they exert down when they make that print into the ground, that expands the ground around the paw print out. So it's very easy for a large dog to make one of these tracks. So what we're looking for is something bigger than that. Something that I can say, okay, this is obviously not a, Mastiff or a, big hunting dog or a big wolf or anything like that. This is something bigger than they are, and leaving a track.
I got it. That's pretty solid way to find out. I've been sent some tracks that look like they would push that boundary. I'd like to send them to you maybe if I'll have to get permission from the owner, of course, but not here in Kanawha County, but the neighboring counties, Kanawha County, in Kanawha State Forest. I was sent some really, really big dog tracks. They said that, when they took pictures of the track, but they actually saw the creature, the animal. They said it looked like a giant black wolf, like 4 or 5 foot high at the shoulder. And,
ooh, okay.
and we don't have anything like that, supposedly.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to send that to you, see what you think about it.
Awesome. That would be great. Another thing I wanted to mention is everybody, whether it's Bigfoot or dog, when people are making casts, having something next to The track to $1 bill is exactly 6 inches.
Nice.
So if you lay a dollar bill down next to it and maybe put a stick, so that you keep it centered and secured while you take the picture, that $1 bill will give every researcher a size reference so that they can determine how big the cast is or the foot track is, and as compared to other foot tracks. So that $1 bill that everybody usually has in their pocket is a universal size measurement of 6 inches. Comes in very handy when you're doing any type of casting work.
That's great advice. I appreciate that, because in the picture that I was sent, there's a lady's hand beside the track, and I think her foot may be beside the track, but I don't know how big her hand is or what size shoe she
Right.
wears, so.
Yeah, and that's always, people think that that's a good reference point, but I can say, okay, well, I wear a size 11 shoe. My aunt wears a size 5.
Right.
So either one, you can't make that determination off of somebody putting their foot next to it, because you don't know how big of a shoe they wear, and you don't know what that size comparison is. But a $1 bill, that's 6 inches. That gives you, plenty to work with for size, determination.
Awesome. Thank you. See, it's tips like that that help out people that are just getting into the field and stuff.
Yeah.
That goes a long way, because there's a lot of people, especially those of us that have had a little extra downtime due to COVID or whatever, are trying to get back out there and see things for themselves. Now, when I asked you if you had any personal experiences with Dogman, you said not with Dogman.
Right.
Are you open to share some stories?
Sure.
Some things that
Well,
you have.
my biggest experience, and I do believe it was a Bigfoot.
Awesome.
It was the first week of November, and I had driven up to see my mom in Minnesota. It was the week of Halloween. So going up, all the deer were like lining the sides of the road waiting to be deer tartare. I learned very quickly, you get behind a semi-truck and they hit the deer. By the time you go over what remains of the deer, there's nothing left. So that's how I planned my trip up, was just stay behind a semi-truck, you'll be fine. And so we got up there. I visited with her for a couple of days. We went up to Winnipeg, and the day that we got home from Winnipeg, they were expecting a huge storm front to be coming into Minnesota. Now, my mom is in Ely, Minnesota, and to get to Ely, Minnesota, you drive past the middle of nowhere and keep going, literally. And so I knew that the storm front, was going to be coming in the next day. So I wanted to be on the road and headed south back home to Michigan, before that storm ever hit. For one reason, I was driving a soft-sided Jeep and really didn't want to take my chances in a storm. So I left her house around 3 o'clock in the morning, Minnesota into Virginia, Minnesota. You go from a 2-lane highway up to a 4-lane highway when you get into Virginia. So it was just as I was coming up onto the on-ramp that my Jeep headlights were shining on a pair of very hairy, thick legs. And it went headlight, thick, furry leg, tall grass, thick, furry leg, headlight.
Wow. Oh, of course. I lost you just for a second there. Oh, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back.
Wow,
I can hear you.
Okay, what horrible timing for that to kick off for a second. So you saw these thick, hairy legs in your headlights. Oh no.
Very thick, hairy legs. And at this time of the year, I know that it was because this was the first week of November. This was Minnesota. Some background information. My mom is the bear curator at the North American Bear Center. So we know black bears very well. So it was not a black bear because they were in hibernation. The hair on the legs was too thick and furry and shaggy for it to have been a moose. They have a very nice velvet on their legs. Not, what I was seeing. I could tell from what my headlights revealed that these legs they were dark brown, but with like a reddish cast to them. So an animal that's been exposed to the elements for a long period of time. Even black bears are not really black once you look at them. And this had, wherever the head and chest of this animal was higher than what my head was sitting in my Jeep. So standing outside of my Jeep, I am 5'8", and the canopy of my Jeep was just about chin level. So with that knowledge, wherever the head and chest of this creature was, it was 6 or 7 feet, tall, with the head being probably about 8 foot.
Wow.
And so I got a good 30-second view of this creature. But as I'm doing this, I'm driving past it, going up onto the 4-lane highway. And so I get up onto the highway and I stop. I come to a complete stop and I'm like, did I just see what I think I saw? And of course, this is when I have like the older model flip phone, which doesn't take very good pictures at all. And I'm like, I should go back down and try to videotape it. But then I'm like, I'm in a soft-sided Jeep. So how's that conversation going to go if the Bigfoot decides to flip my Jeep?
Yeah.
The police officers are probably not going to believe me. The tow truck driver is probably going to be, okay. My mom might believe me because she knows I'm a researcher of this stuff. I had my sighting. I know what I saw. I'm just going to keep driving. So in that area around Virginia, they do not have moose. Like I said, the black bears are in hibernation. And those would have been the only 2 animals that I would have said that probably could have been the culprits. But neither one was available. So the moose are about, I want to say 5, maybe 4 hours west of that area. And the bears were in hibernation. So I am pretty sure I saw a Bigfoot that day. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Absolutely. And I worked with black bears for a few years down here, and a big black bear, you're looking at about 6 foot tall if it's standing up on its hind legs, and it's not going to stand up on its hind legs for a real good length of time anyway, especially stationary. I mean, they'll pop up.
Right.
But, and you would see definitely the end of their legs. They're not long-legged at all. So yeah, it doesn't sound like a black bear. I think I lost you again.
Yeah, the young black bear is likely to be able to stop the voice.
Yep, I'm losing you. Let's see. Okay, you know what? if you're open to this, because this connection is not working out.
Let me try going over into my office area. Bear with me for a second because there might be little barking dogs.
That's all right.
But give me a second. I will walk over to my office.
Okay.
And We'll see if we have a better connection in there. Not saying that it's on my end, but I do know that I seem to have better internet over here. So,
Okay.
hey guys, calm down. Okay, calm down. Okay, let's see if this is a little bit better over here.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Hopefully they'll behave themselves and not bark too much.
It's all right. If they bark, they bark. I got a little Shih Tzu here in the house too, and she likes to make a cameo every once in a while.
Okay, let's see if this is a little bit better.
All right. I hope it is. If not, we can.
Okay, can you hear over here?
I think so. The video is still frozen,
Okay.
but we'll see if the audio hangs in there.
Let's see if I okay, can you hear me better now?
I can hear you. It's showing.
Okay.
It's still saying your network bandwidth is low.
Okay, because it should be stronger in this area.
Do you happen to have Frontier Communications?
No, I have AT&T Verse.
Okay, that's like I'm dealing with Frontier on my end. Is it showing you that my bandwidth is low or anything like that? Is it?
Not really. It's because all I'm seeing is your logo, which is a pretty cool logo, I have to say.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry about that. I can try to start my video back up, but yeah. So let me ask you this. We'll try to get this to work. If this doesn't work out, then maybe we can reschedule something for like Wednesday or maybe Thursday, something like that, if you're open.
Let's see. The only problem with Wednesdays is I teach in the evening.
Okay.
So I would actually be teaching during this time in the evening. So Wednesday evenings are probably not going to work. And then I have a conference call Thursday evening. So,
okay. Well, next week I'm off the whole week for Thanksgiving break where I teach.
Okay.
So
it's saying that I'm connected. So,
okay. But yeah, if everything looks good and sounds good right now. So let's see how it goes. All right. Picking back up. You know what you saw? That's your story and you stick it to it.
Because I am so well educated about black bears now because of my mom and her work with black bears that I can dismiss that it was a black bear. If it were a black bear, the legs would not have looked right because these were very thick, straight legs with a knee.
Wow.
And the knee being almost where the grill of a Jeep Wrangler is, that would have been about where the kneecap was.
Yeah, that's definitely not a
so the hip was higher than what the top of the hood of my Jeep was. So I'm like,
wow.
That's not a black bear. No.
And
they have a big black bear up at the bear center named Ted. He's about a 600, 700 pound bear, and size comparison with his legs to what I saw, no, his legs are way smaller than what I saw.
Yeah. Like I said, I worked with black bears. We have 2 down here in Logan at Chief Logan State Park, and my job was taking care of them and the rest of the exhibit. And we had a big boy named Rascal. He went about 450.
Okay.
And he, when he stands up, his hind legs look stubby. That.
Oh yeah.
There's no way in the world he would have hind legs 4 feet long, which is what it would take to clear your Jeep.
Right, because I could clearly see the gap between the thighs going up, and it was like, nope, that's not a black bear. No way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations on your sighting. I'm still waiting for one. What?
It kind of throws you for a loop when you first have it. You're like, did I see what I think I just saw? And then you go through your checklist of no. Darn it, yes, it was. Okay, so now I know.
I think it's great. I'm kind of jealous, and that's the best kind of sighting because you're on the road and it's not. So there's no danger of him snatching you up, you know.
Yeah. For a long time traveling in my Jeep, it's like, I wonder if I can outrun something. Now I either have my Ford Escape, which is very nice for gas, or I have my Ford F-250 truck. And I know anything that wants to go one-on-one with me in my Ford 250, it's going to have a fight on its hands because
you'll win.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you, since you've had the sighting and you've done all this research for years, what's your theory on Bigfoot? What are we dealing with there?
So I truly believe that Bigfoot is a natural occurring species. It is a distant relative of humans because humans are a part that we're part of that family tree of primates, whether people like it or not. But I believe that the Bigfoots, the Sasquatches, took a different route than we do. And when I say family tree, it's more like a shrubbery, because it doesn't really have major branches that stick out here or there. It's a lot of little branches that stick out. And to this day, biologists are still finding new primate species in different jungles, in different rainforests. So we can never discount that we've solved the whole puzzle, and here it is, because as soon as you say that, either a new fossil is found or a new living, breathing species is found that, okay, so now we have to put one more little branch sticking out for this, particular species. And so I do believe that the Bigfoots, they are in comparison with humans on survival. So, and I say that because people think that just because Bigfoots can't do surgery or can't do mathematics or stuff like that, that they're not, or drive a car, operate a computer, that they're not as intelligent as human beings. But I pose this question: how many human beings could be dropped off without any tools, any means of defending themselves, starting a fire, killing their game, be dropped off in the middle of nowhere and elude other human beings for as long as the Bigfoots have, and be able to live, breed, hunt, all on their own without human interference.
Yeah.
So I don't know too many humans that could do that. They have these wonderful TV shows like Naked and Afraid and Survivor and stuff like that. But you have to remember, there's a film crew that's following them around. And if things get too bad,
right,
said human can tap out and go back home. Bigfoots don't. They live 24/7 out in the elements, unless they have a shelter that they've concocted themselves or they found that's nature made, and they've lived just fine without human beings. I don't know too many humans that could say the same thing if they were, with just the clothes on their backs, dumped out in the middle of nowhere, and we're told, okay, now you have to hide from humans because we're going to hunt you and kill you.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great way to look at it. They have their own specialties,
Yes.
their own type of intelligence, instinct, that it's not even comparable really to what we do. I agree with that. Well, I know we were having all those lag issues. We went through Dogman, but I didn't ask, what do you think Dogman is? So let me ask that too.
Okay, so Dogman is a little bit different. Now, there's a lot of confusion because a lot of people don't research this like I do. So a lot of people think Dogman is a werewolf, a human being changing into a wolf-like form.
Right.
No, that is a superstition. So werewolves, lichens, Wolfman all became popular through Hollywood. So there are some superstitions and myths that apply to werewolves, but when we're talking Dogman, we're talking about a creature that is in this form 24/7. They do not morph from a human being into a upright walking dog or wolf shape. And then when the moon goes from being from a full moon back to a half moon or quarter moon or a new moon, changes back into the human being. No. That is fiction that goes along with the vampire and stuff like that. A Dogman is a upright walking canine that competes with Bigfoot and human beings for the same territories of food, of shelter, things of that nature. It's very true that when Dogman moves into a Bigfoot's territory, the Bigfoot will pack up and leave, because most of the time it's a female Bigfoot with young, and the last thing she wants to do is have to defend her offspring and her shelter from a pack of dogmen. It's just simple and easier for them to move to a new location, find new food resources, because if they are used to the area, they know that during different times of the year, different food is available. So you just move, you pack up and move. So what I tell most people is, if you have an area that has farms, orchards, gardens, anything that draws deer in, anywhere you have deer, you have the potential for Bigfoot and Dogman.
Wow. That's everywhere.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So a lot of people, like, I'm from Michigan, everybody thinks that the whole state of Michigan is either Detroit, Lansing, or Flint.
Yep.
Those are big cities, but we have a lot of green open spaces with trees and lakes around there and farm fields. And we have just as lush of a landscape for cryptids as anywhere you want to look. So we have all the components that they need. We have crops, we have deer, great source of protein. We have fresh water. We have fish. We have, everything that they could want here in the Michigan area to live off of. So it's not just on the West Coast that, you're going to find Bigfoot, or in Wisconsin that you're going to find Dogman. They're actually all over the place. And that's what people need to wrap their head around is, no, there's reports of these creatures all over the United States and actually all over the world.
Yeah, there are. And for hundreds of years too, right? If not thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and I have a hard time with Dogman personally. I don't know why, because I believe in just about everything. I just have, I don't know, maybe it's a lack of imagination or something. I have a hard time accepting Dogman. Now, my dad, on the other hand, all in on Dogman.
Okay.
He's all about it. So I don't know. Have there been any recent sightings of Dogman?
Generally, I get reports during the wintertime of Dogman activity. And that makes sense because the foliage on the trees is thinner. You can, when you're driving down the road during the summertime, spring, summer into early fall, and you're looking into the fields, you're either seeing crops that are growing or lush trees with all their foliage. But come wintertime, that changes, and suddenly you go from a very colorful landscape with, everything in bloom to very stark contrast of black and white and gray. And it's very easy to see things that you usually won't see during the warmer months. And so a lot of people who, are driving back roads, this is where you're probably going to see these creatures, because they're stalking the deer who are trying to scrounge up whatever food they can from, last year's crops that have been collected, or grass that, is under snow. So they're following the deer, and the deer are usually in these crop fields, trying to find something to eat. So, you just kind of, the predator follows the prey. So you just have to keep that, in mind of wherever you're going to see deer, you have the possibility of seeing a Bigfoot or a dogman.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of dogman accounts, and I know there's a guy, he's real popular on YouTube, Dark Waters. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not.
No, I'm not.
But they have a team of people that have put up cameras to catch these creatures. They're down south, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They're down south, and they go out into the deep woods and they put these cameras up and stuff. But I've heard tons of stories about the dogman. I just haven't heard of any actual attacks, with the exception of the LBL.
Right. So this is something that creeps people out. But the thing that I try to impress upon people with reports is, in order for somebody to make a report, they have to, 1, survive the attack or the encounter, 2, make it back to civilization and make the report. So you have 2 things that sometimes happens. Either the person doesn't make it back to make the report, or they don't think anyone is going to believe them, so they don't make any reports. So just because there's not reported activity in an area doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means, 1, nobody has encountered them yet, or 2, they have, and either they chose not to make the report because they disbelieve it themselves, or 3, they didn't survive the attack and they're now probably a 411 report.
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to hear, but that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what what we're looking at is, in order for a report to be made, that human being who the encounter happened to has to come back to civilization and either report it or show evidence of it. And most of the time, unless the person is really, adamant that they're going to report this, a lot of people don't. A lot of people, just, nobody's going to believe me anyways. I don't want to be called crazy. I already have this psychological, damage done to me because of the attack, and I'm just not, I want to forget it. And usually, people who choose to do that, it doesn't go away. It stays with them in the form of nightmares and the psychological damage, the physical scars. So I don't understand why people don't report it more, because that's almost a release for them, a way of, just moving past it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people when they come on here and they talk about alien abductions or Bigfoot encounters and stuff like that. They'll tell me it helps them to talk about it. Like you said, it's like a type of therapy. The more you talk about it, the easier it gets. And
the less power that it has over you.
Yes, exactly. And I would love it if anybody did have an encounter with a dog man or any kind of cryptid or lesser known animal, that they would be able to reach out to somebody, and you talking about it might help them out.
Well, hopefully, that helps people. To me, it's becoming more normal and every day for you to have some type of paranormal experience or a Bigfoot experience. And it's the people who deny it that I think are becoming the lesser of the population. To me, in today's day and age, if you haven't had weird shit happen to you that's high strangeness of paranormal, UFO, or cryptid, then you don't leave your house very often, do you? It's like, that almost everybody I talk to has at least some type of experience with that. And that's the norm to me.
Yeah.
Unnormal to me is somebody who totally denies the existence of any of this and just, nope, nope, nope. Like, okay, you don't leave your house very often, do you?
That's it. That's what I tell people. Everybody has a story.
Yes.
Everybody. It's either going to be a UFO sighting, it's going to be some kind of ghost story. Everybody has had something happen. Even like he'll never listen to the show, but my father-in-law, he's like pretty skeptical about everything. But then turns around and tells me a time where he saw angels. And I was like, okay, do you think that's normal? People, everybody sees something. Everybody's got some kind of story, Now, you've done paranormal research for what? You said 25 years you've been into this?
Both. I've done cryptozoology and paranormal for about 25 years.
Wow. What kind of experiences have you had with ghost hunting?
So I have found that it's generally when I'm not in paranormal investigator mode that stuff happens.
Yeah.
So two of my most interesting paranormal experiences happened when I was totally not even anticipating anything. So up here in Michigan, we have a cool touristy area called Mackinac Island. But to get to Mackinac Island, you either have to take a ferry from Mackinac City or St. Ignace, Michigan. So as this, as I'm laying this out, so it was early summer. My mom had come home from Ely to go to her golden anniversary for school graduation here in Michigan. So she had flown home, and then I was driving her German Shepherd, myself, and my miniature pincher back up to her home. So we got up to Mackinac City, and that's about 4.5 hours from, straight up from my house. So that's a good resting spot. So we stopped, walked around. She wanted to get fudge for her friends up in Ely, and I wanted to walk around with my dog. So at one point, I decided to use the public restroom. So with my little miniature pincher, I walked into the first stall, which is the biggest stall, and used the facilities, and then left. And we got back on the road, and fast forward a couple of months later, I am up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, which is up in the Upper Peninsula for the MyParacon conference, Michigan Paranormal Conference. It's a huge conference. And so I wasn't staying for the dinner that night, so I was just going to drive straight back home. But I had enough time after I got across the bridge to stop, and I was going to get my dad and brothers some saltwater taffy and fudge and stuff like that. Now, on this occasion, I did not have my little dog with me. So I walk back into that same public restroom, go into the same exact stall. There's nobody else in the bathrooms. There's not even anybody outside. So right as I'm about to leave the stall, a voice as clear as day says, "What? No puppy this time?"
Oh, no.
To the point where I respond back, no, I left her at home because I was only, and then I stopped and was like, nobody else is in this bathroom. So I exit the stall. I check every single one of the other stall doors is open. I walk outside. There's nobody out there. But the thing about Mackinac City is, Mackinac Island, even, they have thousands of people there a week.
Yeah.
So how is anybody going to remember what I look like, let alone the fact that, do I have a dog with me? Do I not have a dog with me? Well, the spirits remembered it. And so I have a friend who does ghost tours up on Mackinac Island, Todd Clemmings, and I'm telling him about it. He's like, well, it might be the ghost from here or there. I'm like, Todd, that's not the point. I'm like, the point is it remembered. And it remembered in the women's bathroom, which is really, really creepy.
Yeah.
So that one kind of loud as day, disembodied voice asking me, what, no puppy this time? And it's like, so either they really liked my dog, or which is strange because she doesn't like anybody else. But they recognized her. And the other weird thing that I had happen, I was down at a friend of mine's cabin, and everybody was staying there for the weekend because we were all going to the Mothman Festival. And so the first night that we were there, there was in the upstairs of his cabin, there's rooms that are kind of like alcoves. It's all open, no doors. So in the first alcove, as you come up the stairs, was me and my little dog on one side of the room, and then there was a lady on the other side of the room. In another alcove, there was a mother and daughter. And then in the third alcove, there was a gentleman. Well, the next night, it's just me and my dog in the one alcove and the mother and daughter in theirs. So in the middle of the room is a rocking chair that I have my tote bag in, and I had my ibuprofen bottle sitting on top of the bag, which was open. So the house is quiet, and I had fallen asleep for a little while, but then I wake up and I have that icy feeling going through me, that feeling you get right before an accident or you avoid an accident.
Yeah.
That feeling that goes through you. And right about the same time, my little dog starts growling. Now I have my back to the rocking chair, and she is in between me and the wall. So she cannot see over me to see anything. But right as she starts to growl and I'm feeling this icy feeling, I hear the bottle of ibuprofen start shaking back and forth like somebody's rattling it. So I'm like, nope, we're not dealing with this. Shh, shh. I'm telling the dog to be quiet, like, shh, quiet, be quiet. I'm like squeezing your shoulders, like, stop it. Because I don't know what is behind me. So the next morning, I'm like, I'm going to play this off. So the mother and daughter team get up, and I'm like, oh, I'm I'm like, I'm sorry. Did you guys need medication last night? I hope you guys were okay. And no, we didn't get up. We thought that was you. I'm like, oh yeah. I said something was playing with my ibuprofen bottle in the top of my bag. And that's when I find out that, oh, there's a little boy spirit that lives there that likes to like look through people's belongings and mess with stuff. So I'm like, yeah, he was playing with my bottle of ibuprofens.
Wow.
So yeah, those were now for paranormal investigations, we have weird stuff happen all the time. But for paranormal investigation stuff that's paranormal, those two will stand out with me forever. Because it was like, wasn't expecting it, wasn't planning on it, and it's usually at those times that you have stuff happen.
Wow. Yeah, that would be a little unnerving, to have.
Yeah, it was because when you have that sensation going through your body, and then your dog's confirming it with doing a low level growl, and then you're hearing the pill bottle rattle behind you, and you know that rocking chair is only 2 feet away. You're like, oh man. It's like, I want to turn over, but I don't want to turn over and look.
Yeah, there's no way. You couldn't have paid me to turn over and look. How do you think that ghosts are able to do that? Or what? Where are they? What? So
they're here, but they're not here. I believe that there is a dimension. They always say around Halloween that the thinning of the veils happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that that's what it is they're kind of separated from us in a very light veil. And we unknowingly interact with them, and they interact with us without, possibly realizing it. But then there's sometimes where they do realize that that we're here, and either we're annoying them or they want to, interact with us. And that's when we get, the different kinds of activity. And you asked, how do they do it? A lot of these haunted locations that people pay to go investigate at, people go in there with the anticipation that it's haunted. So right then and there, they are giving off an energy to them, a nervous, scared energy that some paranormal entities feed off of. Case in point, Ohio Reformatory. They run that as a haunted location for ghost tours most of the years, but in September and October, they turn it into a haunted house.
Oh, to keep that
So the
energy up.
fear factor alone that produces feeds those ghosts and spirits for the rest of the year.
Wow.
So when you have people putting out a lot of energy, whether it's, laughing and having a good time or screaming and panicking, that's energy and things will feed off of it. And depending on what type of energy is putting out there is the kind of energy that you can anticipate being reactive. So, people often say, oh, we heard loud bangs. Well, yeah, it's doing what we call a jump scare, and it's trying to provoke a emotional response out of you so that it can feed off of it. And then that way it carries it through to the next time a ghost tour or something comes through, and they have activity and can feed off of it.
Now, what are these ghosts? Are these actually the spirits of people who have passed on?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think 95% of the time it is a human spirit that is, for some reason, has not crossed over or doesn't understand how to cross over and is just stuck here. I think only about 5% of it is a negative entity or a demon type creature, because honestly, if there were as many demons as people say here on Earth, haunting people, attacking people, we'd probably be seeing churches going up in flames, Bibles going up in flames. Certainly, that we would see much more negative activity other than just people getting scratched or feeling threatened in a location. I'm not saying that people do this to themselves, but you'd be surprised, what kind of injuries you can inflict on yourselves in a dark space.
Right.
If you don't know what all's around you, you can very easily scratch yourself or stuff like that. And then depending on what type of chemical residue or stuff is on that, when it scratches you, your body might have a reaction. So I'm not saying that people are over, reacting and saying, that demons and stuff like that is more of a problem than what it is. I'm just saying that I don't think that it's quite the epidemic that people claim it to be.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that with a lot of these paranormal shows, that's what they want, because that is what gets you ratings. So if you can throw in the term negative, demonic, possession, anything like that into the show that makes it seem more dangerous than what it is, then people might tune in more to watch it. But those of us who actually do this for a living are like, I've been to that location. There's nothing there unless those people brought it with them or conjured it up or invited it in. And then, you're looking at some ethics, problems there.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And I think that, in terms of demonic forces, they're usually, I would imagine they're more occupied with persuasion and influence of people, that if they're going to make something happen, it's going to be through a person more than to, play the boogeyman role. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Wow. You've done a lot of stuff here. There's so much more I have, but I know we've already ran probably over an hour. We had a little bit of a hitch in the connectivity for a little while there, but if you don't mind me asking, these college courses, we have a community college down the street here, and they have nothing about cryptozoology at that college, and I feel like I've been cheated. So, how'd you get into that? How'd you get that role?
So, you never know what you can accomplish until you set out to do it. So, after I wrote my Lake Monster book, there was a lot of interest in from libraries, from museums, paracons for me to present on these subjects. So after doing it for about a year, I was approached by a person, with a community college, and they had heard one of my presentations. And they said, we would love it if you would come in and just do this 2-hour, do a 2-hour presentation at our college. And I thought, great. But then I thought, well, what if other colleges want to do something similar? And so I started out with Owens Community College because they were running a ghost hunting course. And I thought, that's really cool. But, our Great Lakes have such a cool history with ghost ships and shipwrecks and pirates and lake monsters and devil's triangles and all this. I know all about that stuff. So let's see if they are interested in me doing a presentation on that. And sure enough, they were. And so they had me do a college course. And then no sooner got done teaching that course in February of 2019 than March of 2019 hit. And we all know that the world shut down.
Yeah.
So that gave me time to build out, my course even more. And so I offered it at another community college. They scooped it up. And as things begin to open back up from COVID, I'm sure more community colleges are going to be interested in it here in the Michigan area. So that's how I got in, is just knowing that people had an interest in this, and taking the research that I have done and making it into a different 2-hour class each week. At Owens Community College, it's a 4-week class, but it's an hour and 90 minutes for that time period. And then Kellogg Community College is 3 weeks, but 2 hours. So kind of have to shuffle and do some rearranging, but people have been very responsive and have loved the course. And it's generally, it's interesting because it's generally I think the youngest person I've had was 25, but generally it's a 50+ crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And they are just thrilled with it. And they're like, I remember that. I remember hearing about this ship going down, or about this different thing happening. And so they really enjoy it and they love it.
That is so cool. And I tell you why it's a 50 and plus crowd. It's because, as you get older, you care less and less about what people might think.
Right.
If I walk into that class at 21 or 18, who's going to think that I'm a weirdo? Now, if I go into it at 40, I couldn't care what they have to think. I want to hear more about these paranormal and lake monsters. I love it. I went to college later in life. I was in my mid-30s when I went. I took so much more away from that experience than I would have, right out of high school. I love it. I love that you're doing that course. That's very inspirational. I'm all about people following their passions, and just going for it. And I love that you do it. I love that you're doing it. Shetan, thank you very much for coming on. If you don't mind, would you please tell everybody where they can find your books? I didn't even ask about Squatch GQ magazine. Is that in print or is it all digital?
Oh, yeah. So Squatch GQ Publications is available digitally or in print. You can find the publications at squatchgqmagazine.com. My books you can find on Amazon. If you just type in my name, Shetan Noir, it will bring up all of my books. There's even some pagan titles in there with spell work, and I even have some books that or spell book that have for dealing with the paranormal in there. So definitely can find my works on there, and then you can find me on Facebook under Shetan Noir. And if I post on it on Facebook, then you have access to it right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would love to bring you back on sometime for a part 2.
Of course.
I'd like to get into this spell work and what you do to protect yourself in investigations. And, there's so much more. I feel like we barely just hit the tip of the iceberg here, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties,
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
but we pushed through. We made it. Again, thank you very much for coming on. I'll have this out in just a few weeks, and I will
Okay.
shoot you a link as soon as it comes out. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too.